People living on the streets of Denver are now trying to get into the homeless encampments targeted by the city. They know it's a path to safe shelter in a taxpayer-paid hotel room.
I'm super anxious. I'm ready, though. I'm ready for the bed and shower every day.
Republicans in Washington have found a new way to hold up Space Command in Colorado Springs. A new statue downtown is covered in hidden history. And as Coloradans light the menorah tonight, we remember the fight that it took to have that happen in public alongside Christmas trees. That's tonight on Next. One of Denver's largest homeless encampments encircled the main post office downtown until today, when the city moved more than 100 people living there into a hotel. Not everyone who was at the encampment got a room. Our Kelly Rinke explains why.
Packing up isn't new for people living at 20th and Curtis.
Pack up their stuff quite a bit, actually. They move us around a lot around here.
This move, though, feels different.
Yeah, because they're actually giving us somewhere to go. You know what I mean? They're giving us an option of a place to be.
David and his wife, Sarah, put their life into 2 bags because they got on a list to move into the former Doubletree Hotel in Northeast Denver.
I'm super anxious. I'm ready, though. I'm ready for the bed and shower every day.
The couple and more than 100 other people lined up for buses as the city threw away what was left behind. This is the 4th encampment to close under Mayor Mike Johnston's plan to house 1,000 people.
Yeah, I've been hearing about it, but didn't believe it was real.
After outreach teams go 10 by 10 to add names to a list, a notice about the cleanup goes up and news travels.
I need somewhere to stay. I have nowhere to do basic stuff that I need to do in life.
This man came looking for housing too, but he won't be able to board that bus. There just aren't enough rooms for everyone.
Looking for help. Use the public transportation all the way to the end of the night and just hang around in the street.
A fresh start is what they're looking for.
It's really, really, really hard to get back off once you're on the schedule of the streets.
Today, Sarah waits to move again, with bags packed and filled with hope.
It takes a lot to turn it around once you're here.
Now again, more than 100 people are moving from this site to a hotel today. Next week, the city plans to close another encampment and move 100 more people. Mayor Johnston says that'll put them past the halfway point of their goal for 1,000 people.
What you hear there, though, Kelly, is something that we heard talked about during the mayoral campaign. The question of, do folks living on the street want a way out of that life? Would they take shelter if it's not a congregate setting, if it's a private room? Advocates have long said the vast majority will say yes.
Yes, and clearly word is getting around, and it wasn't just at this encampment. The city says they have noticed this at other cleanups where people hear that once that notice goes up, people are going to be moving to a hotel, and then they see that encampment grow before that cleanup happens. And unfortunately, they have a set amount of rooms and they can't accommodate everybody.
Sure. Does illuminate the mindset, which was a big, big question. Yeah. Kelly Rinke, thank you. So to the dual issue that's also causing the shelter crunch in town, it was this time last year that the migrant search began. That was when Denver opened its first emergency shelter to accommodate 100 people who came up unexpectedly from the southern border. And the year since, more than 30,000 migrants have come to or through Denver. Tonight, more than 2,700 migrants are currently in shelters around the city, in the city-run hotel shelters or in partner shelters set up by various faith groups and nonprofits. That number has increased steadily in recent weeks as border crossings increase, and also as Texas's Republican Governor Greg Abbott sends busloads of migrants up to Denver. Governor Abbott's taking credit for sending nearly a quarter of the people who have come to town here so far. Denver says the city spent more than $33 million on the sheltering effort this year, has only received about $13 million in state and federal reimbursement. An experienced Republican legislator is getting into the race to replace Congressman Ken Buck. Jerry Sonenberg is going to test whether GOP primary voters want a traditional conservative like him or whether they want a newer Trump-style culture warrior type. Sonenberg termed out of the state legislature after 16 years. He's currently a Logan County commissioner. His family has farmed and ranched in Sterling for generations. Sonenberg says he'll be an advocate for rural values and that his campaign priorities are the budget and opposing quote-unquote unnecessary energy regulation. Sonenberg in the legislature was the lone no vote against Colorado's 2020 police reform bill, called social justice protesters thugs and looters. This is going to be a crowded Republican primary for the 4th Congressional District, which goes from Douglas County out to most of the Eastern Plains. It's a district that is so heavily Republican, the GOP nominee is almost certainly to win the general election. Republicans in Congress in Washington have found a new way to stall setting up Space Command in Colorado Springs. It's tucked into the latest version of the defense spending bill, which is up for a Senate vote as early as next week. This would temporarily freeze any spending on building up Space Command headquarters until there's an investigation into former President Donald Trump's decision to move the base from Colorado to Alabama, and then President Biden's reversal of the decision to bring it back to Colorado this year. There have already been several investigations into those presidential orders at the request of the Alabama and Colorado delegations. If it happens again, it would be about a half-year pause in the process. We got snow blowing into town after a couple of warm days. Really blowing in, Chris Bianchi. Everybody hears snow and they want to talk about snow, but how about blow?
Yes, no doubt about that. How about this, Kyle? You want a wild stat? A top Berthoud pass this morning,
Yeah.
They had just about, almost got up to hurricane force winds. And when we're talking about hurricane force winds, that means you need sustained winds at 74 miles an hour or above. At Berthoud Pass this morning, despite the fact we had a gust, that's a 10-second average wind speed, 83 miles an hour. Their 2-minute average was actually closer to about 67 miles an hour, just shy of hurricane force winds up there. Georgetown Lake, 72-mile-an-hour winds, very, very gusty for us earlier on this morning. But those winds have relaxed a little bit in the foothills. Still pretty gusty, I know, at times for us here in the metro area, especially on the west side. Those winds relax tonight. Snow likely tomorrow. High uncertainty in those forecast totals. The computer models are still all over the place, but I'll break it down for you here. Let's start things off by taking a look at what we can expect through the overnight hours. We'll get some of that snow pushing its way first in the mountains. I know some of you are already seeing some of that snow in the high terrain, but the real deal stuff sets up for us in the Denver area tomorrow morning. The initial wave of snow tomorrow is not what concerns me in the Denver area. What concerns me, it's the second wave. As we get into the evening hours, 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the metro area, we'll see upslope flow develop, and that means we'll get some heavier snowfall push its way on in through the metro area, and that could lead to some decent totals for us here in the metro area, especially on the south and west sides of town. That's where we're going to be a bit more favored to get some of that heavier snowfall. Here's the way I kind of like to do the forecasting a little bit. Again, remember, I'm not Nostradamus. I'm good at math, so 1 to 4 inches of snow seems the most likely. There is a chance, though, we end up with a little bit more or a little bit less than that. Probably more 3s and 4s in the west and south sides of town, and more 1s and 2s on the north and east sides of town. So 7-day forecast, once we get past that, temperatures on the chilly side for Saturday, warming back up for Sunday.
I like the confidence forecast. I feel like it respects my intelligence as opposed to pretending like he knows it all. Colorado is still plugging abandoned oil and natural gas wells across our state, keep the fluids and gases from rising to the surface and make room for development on the surface. Some of those wells have been plugged for years, decades. But what happens when they come unplugged? People in Johnstown are finding out the hard way.
All of a sudden, out of the ground erupted like a geyser-looking thing, like a volcano. It just like shot up and then it went down. It shot up again, came back down, and then it went extremely high.
That is what happens when the plug blows. State environmental regulators are now keeping an eye on that particular well. Residents reported a yellowish substance flying through the air Tuesday afternoon. The state says that's an old oil well. It's been abandoned and plugged since 1993. When the plug failed, out came that gusher of oil, water, and drilling mud. There are environmental workers on site. They're testing the air. They're working to get the well capped again. It's not a quick fix. They have to go through a remediation process to make sure that the surrounding area is environmentally safe.
That's what a statue is meant to do. Let you know who this person was and what they did for our country.
A new statue downtown is covered in history, but you really have to know where to look. And for a holiday that is thousands of years old, public Hanukkah displays are pretty new in some parts of Colorado. This did not happen without a fight. We'll meet the man who led the charge next. Next time you run into a tough decision at home, just do like your elected leaders do. Punt on it and set up a task force to study the issue for some other time. I kid. Well, I kind of kid. I kind of don't. State legislators did not make much headway on water conservation this year. Instead, what they did is set up a task force to help guide next year's policies. They're whittling down their wish list this week with input from conservation advocates and major water users. The task force's short list of recommendations is suggesting millions of dollars in state funding for programs to remove turf grass in favor of drought-resistant landscapes, as well as purifying wastewater for reuse. Their list also goes through some tough issues for the Colorado River's biggest users. They're proposing more flexibility in water storage and water sharing agreements, along with changes to Colorado's use it or lose it system, where water users like farmers and ranchers have to give up their allotment for water they don't use. The task force will submit a final list of recommendations to the legislature this month. The state doesn't have to act on any of this, but they'll consider it during the next legislative session. The surprise attack on Pearl Harbor on this day in 1941 brought the United States into World War II. It was in part the actions of a Jewish soldier from Denver who helped to lead the U.S. to victory. On this first night of Hanukkah, our Marshall Zellinger takes us to the new statue that honors General Maurice Rose, one of the most important yet least known figures of World War II.
Field trips to see a statue and learn about history can stop an attention span.
There's 18 different symbols. There's a chai, there's a Star of David, there's the word shalom.
Paul Shaman wanted to make the educational experience memorable. That's why there are 18 hidden Jewish symbols in the General Maurice Rose statue that he helped get built.
That was my idea, and that came from when I was a child in doctor's offices. If you are old enough, you remember the highlights page that was a search and something fun to do.
That theory was put to the test with fourth graders from Centennial Academy in Littleton.
As we learned yesterday, for those of us who were at school, we learned a lot about General Rose. If you can remember something that you learned that might be depicted in this statue, put your hands on your head. We're going to start with you, Ellen, so go ahead and point something out.
He looks very brave and confident.
The curriculum about the statue of General Rose is to teach social studies, history, religion, and art.
The artist did an amazing job putting symbols into the bronze statue.
It makes it more engaging for the kids. It's their goal to find the symbols that they learned about in school.
There's the hand way up there.
Star of David up here. It's the candle thingy.
Oh, the menorah.
Yeah.
Nice.
There are actually two, the menorah with 7 candles and the menorah known as a Hanukkah.
And it holds how many candles, Blake?
It holds 9, but one is for lighting, the other 8.
It gives them a chance to experience something and not just read about it.
We're an art school, so to bring an artist's vision of studying General Rose and who he was and his impact not only on Colorado but the world, and how an artist might learn about somebody and then depict that person through their artistic form. So think about what your statue might have.
For next,
and then you can live that legacy out.
I'm Marshall Zellinger.
The statue was dedicated earlier this year. To learn more about the 18 symbols or to see a cheat sheet so that you can find them if you visit, we've posted that on the Next Threads account. Yes, we are on Threads these days. Trying to spend a little bit more time talking to you there, maybe a bit less time in the anti-Semitic cesspool that is Twitter these days, or X, or whatever it's called.
When we first moved out here almost 20 years ago, it was a battle. It was a battle. It wasn't accepted.
Tonight, towns all over Colorado will light menorahs for the first night of Hanukkah. A reminder that that wasn't always something that happened. And we hear you loud and clear. It's the return of a next holiday tradition. Tonight is the first night of Hanukkah, when families will light a menorah inside their homes. Towns and cities across Colorado will hold public ceremonies. In some places, like Fort Collins, that tradition wasn't always welcome.
The small amount of light can dispel a tremendous amount of darkness. This is Old Town Square of Fort Collins and the centre of many activities over here. We have a menorah over here and it serves as a prominent reminder to everyone, not just the Jewish community, of Hanukkah and the winter holiday season for the Jewish people. My name is Rabbi Yerachmiel Gorelik. While today the menorah lighting has become a staple of the winter holiday season, when we first moved out here almost 20 years ago, it was a battle. It was a battle. It wasn't accepted. And that's when we decided to approach the city and see if we can arrange for a menorah, to have a display, and Some of the initial reaction, but thankfully it did change, was Christmas is an American holiday and Hanukkah is a Jewish holiday. And of course, now no one would share such a viewpoint, but we had to work through that. And I think with education and goodwill and understanding and collaboration and discussion, we did. I think ultimately it was a journey that paid off because it took us to where we are today. Remind yourself that a little bit of light dispels a great amount of darkness, and ultimately good will always prevail over evil. Happy Hanukkah, everyone, and happy holidays, however you celebrate it.
Message of hope for everybody. Gorlick lit a menorah tonight in Greeley, their 14th annual display. On Monday, he'll attend a lighting in Fort Collins, year 18 of the public ceremony there. Your feedback almost didn't make it tonight. Mercer ran in like a second ago. That's next. 3 years ago, we started a little holiday tradition here on Next, and a bunch of you have been writing in recently asking if we will bring it back this year. Next viewer named Ondine wrote in this week about the empty spot on her Christmas tree. She got 3 years of Next ornaments up there, left to right. Year 1 was my basement studio woodpile. Then year 2, a COVID vaccine-inspired shot ski. Year 3 down at the bottom was the tribute to the Target rocks, waiting to jump out and attack cars in parking lots across Colorado. And now, time to unveil the 2023 Next holiday ornament. An ode to our man Chris Bianchi. Let's be real. From the minute that the closed captioning messed up Chris Bianchi's name, Chris Bianchi was destined to be the theme of this year's ornament. It's a double-sided one. You get extra value this year. Wishing you a crispy and bright holiday. Do be careful. His eyes kind of follow you around the room, especially on the backside. Since some of you like it extra crispy here, we're going to give you a view of the ornament and the man himself. Again, these are highly collectible. Just a reminder, if you want to get the ornament, all you do is go to 9news.com, the next section, and you print it out, you cut on the dotted line, and then you can put it on a little hanger, a little string or whatever, and then all of a sudden your holidays are crispy and bright. There's a link there to all of our previous years of ornaments as well. If you missed any of those, a big congrats to you, Chris. High honor.
Do you want me to say anything?
No, I don't. We don't have time.
Oh, okay.
Although Eileen writes in feedback, happy Hanukkah to the best Denver weatherman, Chris Bianchi. Michael is not pleased with me. Michael says, you said Republicans find another way to hold up Space Command. Bro, you are vile and putrid at best. You are a horrific journalist. Michael, what was inaccurate? My man, it's true. It's true. Republicans in Washington have found another way to hold up Space Command. This has been going on for a while. This is not new, except that development, which I told you about today, and it was accurate. My job is not to tell you things you want to hear. My job is to tell you the truth. And then, oh, nice note from Samantha. How about this? For me, Next and your voice have become one of those comforting sounds. It means I've made it through the day, and I look forward to it every evening. That is so nice. Need you to talk to Michael. Calm him down a bit. Go get the ornament. See you next time.